Okay, so Ethan, thank you very much for doing this short interview with us. So as I explained before, my company is called Investeur. We help other startups set up their company. And when they mature, we also help them to find funding. So I'm really happy that you made some time for us to ask you a few questions about your fundraising in the past few months and how that went. So please share everything you can about that other entrepreneurs and founders should know about fundraising.
Sure.
And then we just dive right in. But maybe you can explain first what Ipaymy does.
Sure. Yeah, so a pleasure to speak with you. And so Ipaymy is an expense payments and management platform. And so what we do is we provide a technology that allows SMEs, so small businesses in Singapore, to pay their large recurring expenses using a credit card.
Yeah.
So what that means is they can pay things like rent, salaries, invoices, all on their credit card. And that's like something that they typically can't do, right? So typically when you make those types of expense payments, you need to take sort of cash out of your bank account and pay an employee a salary.
Yeah.
And so this allows them to pay any of those types of expenses with a credit card regardless of acceptance. So you can't pay your employees' salaries today because they don't accept a credit card, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a way to swipe a card. So we sort of eliminate that barrier. And then, the basic benefit to a small business in doing that is that they can meet all their payment obligations, but keep their cash for up to 55 days longer, pay no interest. They can use that money to invest in their business or more supplies, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's really a working capital solution for an SME or for a business operator that doesn't have access to traditional financing options. Can't just walk into a bank and say, you give me a loan, because they're not going to be approved. And
it's also going to be collateral.
Yeah, and so it's all these things, and this is also a way that you can sort of instantly do that. And so really kind of the foundation of what we built the company on was sort of this idea that while most business operators aren't going to have access to those types of financing options, they will have access to a credit card. And if you can use that credit card to sort of open up the world of what you can spend and what you can pay for, there's a tremendous amount of benefit. So primarily, like I said, it's working capital, but it's also things like credit card points. Our customers also use our platform to achieve early payment discounts. So you can pay someone today with the card and achieve an early payment discount without having to give up your cash, which you traditionally have to do in order to earn an early payment discount.
Okay. And investors apparently agree with the approach you took, because that's normally how you succeed in raising. Can you maybe give like a description a little bit of the steps of when you started to look for outside investment and what the main things were that you have gone through?
Sure. So we had done some angel funding back in the day, and then some initial sort of seed capital. And I think for us, it was a standpoint of, kind of traditionally as you move through a business in the early stage, you start to look at, product market fit, like what are the different sort of things that we're looking for that are going to make us feel better about the business. And we certainly got to a point where we said, okay, like we think we have the thing. Unit economics look great. The market response has been great. We have all these sort of like pieces of the puzzle. And that's when we knew, okay, we want to go out and raise our seed round. We think that we are in a place where we can have positive conversations with investors about where we want to go next, and sort of have the beginning kind of pieces of what good traction looks like for a business of our sort. And so that's what sort of led up to.
Was there a specific point, because traction for any investor is very important? Was there like one magic moment or 1 month that you like introduced a new product or that you had that idea, okay, this is what we were looking for to go on?
Honestly, like at this stage of a business, like I think it's less common to have that sort of like, oh, we had an amazing month and now investors are going to be completely sold on what we're doing. For us, I think it was knowing that, we had a product that could support the growth. We had unit economics that made sense. I mean, and at this stage, like, you don't have enough cash to talk about serious traction. You have enough cash to talk about certainly, okay, we know what one customer looks like. We know that we've been growing at X rate, and we know if we can add to that and put more money on growth, like it's going to look good. And when we get down the road, it's going to be an economically viable business. And I think when you go into fundraising conversations at this stage with that basic frame, you're in good shape.
So how did you approach the investors? Did you go search Google, search the web, see who matched, and just cold call? Did you involve another company? Can you explain a little bit how that went?
So this was like a particularly interesting piece of the experience for me. So I'm new to Southeast Asia, new to Singapore. When I first started raising money here, I had like a terrible network, knew very few people.
Yep.
And so that was a big challenge for me personally to kind of say like, and yeah, you can sort of go the route of like, yeah, you can just sort of send your pitch deck to various VCs, but like that's about as effective as like sending your resume to whatever company. And, it's like, do you get a response? Like maybe, but maybe not. So I mean, part of the way we got around that is I actually worked with a company called Vantage Capital Partners. This guy named John Pierre from Vantage Capital, who has a lot of connections here and also has been in the business for a while. So that was really important in two ways. One, an introduction standpoint, having that network open to me to make those introductions and get my deck into the right person's hands. And so that was really important. And then later on, sort of when we were going through more of the due diligence, like when you get into like setting up a data room and like all this stuff, like it becomes very, there's a lot of work to be done. And not that it's not important, it's just not necessarily like, you don't necessarily want the key operator of the business focused on just like getting together like all this data and putting it into the data. So, so that's sort of how we got around kind of the limited network piece of it. But from there, it was pretty much just what you would expect. It was setting up meetings, pitching endlessly, and kind of going through that process.
Okay, and if you now look back, is there like one thing that you wish, if you had known how the process would go, that you would have approached differently? That you would do differently in the next round?
Yeah, one thing that actually surprised me, you kind of like when you're raising money or you're in these situations, like you expect some people to say no, like you're trying to get the no's. But one thing that was actually surprising me in this situation was there was a handful of cases where it wasn't a good no, but it was a no because the investor couldn't understand the model. And that was surprising to me because like, when you're in it every day, of course it makes sense. You're like, yeah, of course, it's just very simple. Like, here's how it works. And then when you go out and you sort of start pitching, you sort of, at least I falsely assume, like, and it'll make sense to everyone else too. Like, maybe they won't like it, but they'll at least understand it. And that wasn't always the case. So I think I would have been more prepared up front with like very remedial explanations of how our model works, which I didn't have. And I think that was like a hindrance at the beginning, because when you first start pitching anyway, you kind of are like working out the kinks, you're getting used to like how you're going to pitch, what people are going to object to, what they're not. And I think you'd be like in a way stronger position if you also had, something that's not insulting to people in its simplicity, but something that is very simple in terms of conveying, like, here's the thing, here's the model. Because I think like if you're like, for example, in our business, if you're not in payments, you might not really understand how all the pieces work. And so that would have been helpful.
Well, how long altogether has been the time that you've been working on this?
So at the time from like when we started sort of pitching to actually doing paperwork was about 3 months.
Okay, so that's actually very quick. Do you have an idea of why that went fairly quick? I'm saying quick because typically 4 months is already pretty fast. It could take a lot longer in a lot of cases. So
yeah, I mean, I think for us, there's a lot of things that play into it, but I think we were very fortunate in that we have a great business. We had really strong economics going through those situations. We had experienced operators who have gone through fundraising before and understand sort of the nuances of that. We also, as I mentioned, had some help with introductions and things like that. So, I think a lot of fundraising is like, yeah, it's tough. It's like you gotta pitch to a lot of people. You gotta hear a lot of no's. You gotta go through all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like there's like a couple ways that you can really stack the deck in your favor. And as I've sort of mentioned several times, like one of those ways is like knowing your business inside out, knowing the numbers, being realistic. Like these guys are like hearing pitches all day, and most of the pitches are unrealistic. Most people don't know their numbers, or if they do know their numbers, they're not actual numbers. And like everyone can see through that at the table. You know what I mean? And I think you're doing yourself a huge favor by going in and knowing those, even if they're ugly sometimes, and like, here's what they are. I think that's just like, that gets you so far in these conversations.
Can I put that in a way, because we come across a lot of companies that come with numbers that they're estimating, and they tend to be of the form, there are 6 million people in the world. We live in Indonesia, we have 285, and we're going to get 5% of that. And of course, always for startup, it's very difficult to be very specific at an early stage. But do I understand correctly from you that in your case, it worked better to just be frank about what you really know and not to overpromise too much in that sense?
My opinion is yes. I think that is often refreshing in these types of conversations, because like there's sort of a line to walk between being the optimistic entrepreneur that wants to build the biggest company in the world and being the entrepreneur that comes in with an economically viable business idea that has sort of the seeds of the potential, especially when you're raising a seed round. Like later on, it's different. Like you have to have different types of metrics, and it's a whole different game. But like right now, like at this stage, it's like, I think if you can figure out like what is the balance there, having like a dream and being like really inspirational about like what the thing is cool and kind of requisite, like that needs to be part of it. But I think it's better to err on the side of like, here's what our business is, and if those things look good, you're gonna have a much easier conversation. And even if they don't, like these investors, like these people know the business. They know that sometimes there's tough numbers, but they can also look beyond that. And they also a lot of times know like, but there's a good business to be had here, and we need to work on those numbers, or we don't even care about those numbers right now, right? Like in our business, like we met with several investors who were very much focused on what's your revenue. Right? I knew walking out of those conversations, those aren't my guys. I knew that, right? Because we're an early stage payments business. We're not. That's not what we're focused on growth right now, right? And then we met with other people where that wasn't the conversation. So, okay, these guys understand what payments is about and what we're doing. And you'll figure that out as you go. But like, not everyone's going to be a fit in terms of how they view investment in general, or especially investment in different segments.
So what you're saying, you should be critical on the investors that you meet, also from your own perspective.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like the basic viewpoint people take is like, I'm begging for money almost. Like I'm going in like, I need money and I have this idea. And that may be a reality of life sometimes. Like when you're getting low on cash, maybe you are starting to beg for money, but like that's a different conversation. But everybody who's running a business should be planning their fundraising ahead of time anyway, so they're never in a bad position where the investor has complete leverage over you to dictate the deal terms. But like ideally, you can not sort of go into the situation where you have to be begging for money, and you want to be selective about who you work with. I mean, because aside from like getting the check is great, you get a check, great, like you get the wire, whatever it is, and suddenly you have some cash in your bank account. Go out and celebrate with your team, feel good, but it's like next morning it's like back to work, and I think it's really important to stay focused on kind of that mindset. That you're raising money and that's great, and that you can do that, but there's a lot more work to do.
Final question. A lot of users from the Startup Buddy, so from our online platform, they are very early founders. So they might only be working on an idea yet, or they might just have incorporated. Is there one thing that you can recommend any founder or entrepreneur at that stage that he has to keep in mind all along to actually be able to later on get investment from outside?
And at risk of sounding like a broken record, because I always say this, but I really, really feel passionately about this. It's never too soon to think about the numbers, right? And I think it's far too easy to get kind of lost in like the romance of the idea. Like, oh, we got this great idea and we're going to come up with this killer company. It's going to be amazing. Like, yeah, maybe you will. But if from day one you're thinking about the unit economics of your business, how do you like in 12 months or 24 months, what are the numbers going to look like? Investors and people in general are going to be blown away that you have that type of handle on the numbers in your business, which I guarantee you is not that common. Because it's more fun to just be, hey, our business is great and this is what's happening and it's exciting. We're building a great product. And that's certainly an important piece of it. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's easy to sort of de-emphasize some of the numbers aspects and without without sounding too negative, it's like startups. It's just sort of like a name for running a business, right? Like it's a business.
Yeah.
It's not new. Like startups aren't new. Like it's just a business. Exactly. And before it was cool to work at a startup, people just had businesses they had just started. It wasn't called a startup, right? So it's like, if you think like, well, I'm not running a startup, I'm just running a business as people always have.
Yeah.
And there's certain things I have to consider, and like those are around the numbers and how do I keep my doors open.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, sure, like PR is a piece of that, and the product is a piece of that, and all the things to support. But like really at the core for me anyway, it always comes back to that.
Yeah.
And focusing on like, how do I just make those numbers at the basic unit look attractive, so that when I finally do have investment, I just have to pour gas on the fire.
Yeah.
And it's already there burning.
And does that also mean that you kept track of that already from the start, so that by the time you needed to start pitching, that you could show, okay, this has been our development, this is our growth, this has been our learning over time, so that you could prove that you didn't just pop up and pitched?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that's a key piece of it. And one of the reasons, well, I would say one of the reasons that's important, but I think one of the reasons it's easy to overlook is because at this stage, or like that stage, the numbers are so small and the sample sizes are so small that it's kind of hard to make a lot of sense out of it. And you're like, well, it's 100 customers. Like, I don't know. Like, but the thing is the investors at those stages understand that it's small numbers. They understand it might only be 100 customers. And they also understand that it might be directional and they might be off. But the fact that you have a good grasp of it and you understand where we are today and where we're going, I think it can be really powerful, and sometimes it's overlooked. Not all the time. I'm sure it doesn't speak to everyone. I'm sure a lot of people know the numbers and know the numbers better than me, but I think it's often overlooked.
I know I said it was the last question. It wasn't. Where does Ipaymy go from here?
Yeah, so we are, sort of as I described, working with SMEs today to help them with working capital and to help them with making payments. We envision doing a lot more of that. We are actually in sort of starting some new fundraising as well, and really looking to expand our business and continue to work with more and more SMEs and develop the product. We have an exciting V2 of our product that's coming out, which will allow us to provide better, slicker service for our existing customers, and also allow us to expand the business a little bit outside of sort of where we're focused today, which is pretty exciting. For us, it's like, we are very passionate about helping SMEs and helping business owners in Singapore today, and we're excited about doing more of that, and then introducing new tools and ways in which they can be even more successful and grow their own businesses. Okay.
Thank you very much. I think it was very clarifying for some of our viewers.
Great.
Good luck with further building the company and growing to the next round and going global and things like that.
Yeah, appreciate that. It was nice speaking with you.
And maybe we talk again next year or the year after when you raise again, or maybe.
Yeah, we'd love to. Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ethan, if you can give one piece of advice to new entrepreneurs or founders, what would it be?
I'd say my number one piece of advice would be, from the beginning, when you first start your business, know the numbers inside and out. Be very focused on unit economics and how you can scale that. Don't just get sort of lost in the idea and in the product and kind of where the company is going to be from 2 years from now. Because a lot of people you meet from this to that, including investors, are going to really be interested in what your numbers look like, and you need to know those better than anybody else.